Okay, go.
Welcome to the Trill MBA show. I'm your host, Felicia Ann Rose Anuha, aka the Trillest MBA you will ever know. And I'm here to help you survive and thrive in corporate America by giving you the truth and being as real as only I can be.
Oh my
Happy Sunday,
God.
everybody.
Oh my God. That was amazing. That made my whole fucking day. So, haha, my editor's white. If you didn't know, I'm an equal opportunity.
Man. I love the ultimate
the devil.
Evil combo. I was like, man, when they hear my voice, they're going to know immediately. That's a white dude.
Who is this Chris? She has never had a white person on her show.
I can hear it in his chest. He's all nasally. That's a white man.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that time that we put in that, I put in that Eddie Murphy quote in your show. It was from Beverly Hills Cop, where he's talking. It's that black cop and that white cop, and the black cop is like,
"We're not going to fall for a banana in the tailpipe."
You're not going to fall for the banana in the tailpipe?
It should be more natural, brother. It should flow out like this. Look, man, I ain't falling for no banana in my tailpipe. See, that's more natural for us. You've been hanging out with this dude too long.
Yes, and I love how you think of these things and you find these pop culture references to throw in.
All right, Felicia, you are in the hot seat.
Oh, so, great.
Tell me the story of how the podcast began. I want to know why you started Trill MBA.
It was the winter of 77, and my mom was supposed to have me in December, but like a true Negro, I came late. No, so
y'all see what I have to put up with whenever I edit the show?
He does, poor thing.
No, I'm just kidding. I love it.
I do. I say all these things when I record, and I'm like, Chris, blah 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 blah. And he's just like, I'm like, I know you're shaking your head right now.
No, and I'll tell you what, I'm never ever shaking my head. I'm always just cracking up.
Good, because it's shenanigans. But no, so I actually started the show as an internet radio show on DFWI Radio in 2017. And at that time, I was taking an audio engineering class at the community college. And it was all started because my therapist was like, you need to get a life and you need to figure out something to do with yourself. But also, I always had a passion, and it only got more as I was struggling in these corporate spaces. So by that point, I was on my third corporate gig after business school. And once again, I found myself like struggling so bad. And I'm like, there's gotta be answers, right? And I was just really passionate about it. And I knew that I wasn't the only one struggling. And so like, if you go back to episode 15 in season 3, I actually go on a bit of a rant where I talk about, how I've, come to realize like this is the sole thing I want to focus on. I have finally given into the fact that much of my energy and efforts for the rest of my life will be focused on solving one problem. And it's a problem that I just have found myself extremely passionate about. And that is the non-existence of Black woman representation in corporate leadership. I don't know why this drives me crazy, but if you listen to this show, last season started with corporate America hates Black women. And I know that's a bold statement, but right now, I mean, it's a lot, y'all. It's a whole lot. And some people may be saying, okay, why is this a problem? Like, we got all this black girl magic. You know, we're having lots of new firsts everywhere. But y'all, in corporate, this is a problem. And it is a problem because the powers that be want us to spend our money on their products, but they don't want to pay us. It took me a while to, and it's still like, because, you know, I have been cultured to like think that corporate America is the end all be all. You know, I was told like, go to school, get a good job. And so I did all that, and I'm like not comfortable in my own skin. A lot of times I find myself, I'm like, you know, I want to be my authentic self, my full black ass self. You know, you tell me to be authentic, but then if I come authentically, it's a problem, right? And what I've learned, though, in this current role I'm in is that, yes, Felicia, be you, but be your positive, happy you, right? And so even though I'm fully made up of the positive and the negative, like it's, you know, I have my good days and bad days like everybody else. I realize that when I bring that good, if I stay intentional about it, that really is like the secret sauce. And I can say all kinds of shit. I have talked to my coworkers crazy. One day I told Aaron, I was like, I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. Who tells their boss that? Like, Felicia. But the funniest part was I love my team. So then the ABM on my team, she comes in and she goes, I would just like to say that I am not true to this. I am very new to this. And then me and my boss start cracking up. Like, so
That's
whole
awesome.
team, my whole squad right now in the job I have, like, we're so Gucci. But, you know, I think because of this show, I have had definitely a very positive outlook now. And that has been game changer for me. And I hope that that's come through in the show.
This one of the things I noticed about you, like from the beginning, is that, like, I could tell that you bring the positive side to work. And what I love about your show is you bring the, I understand it's tough. So you bring what some would call negative. I don't ever see it as negative, but it's like that, hey, I'm going to acknowledge that this shit is hard. But then you always have this, like, but remember, they're people too. Or remember, you just have to be positive. Or if this is for you, then it's for you. I don't know. You always come with some like grace message in the end of it. And I'm like, man, this is awesome. Like,
that's therapy.
You can't just stay. Yeah. Oh, I was going to say, you can't just stay in one of those zones. But I think you carry them both really nicely. And I think that's why your show is so healthy and engaging.
So shout out to my group therapist, Peggy. A white woman, the trillest white woman I've ever met in my life. And outside of Harriet.
Oh, right.
But like Peggy, so the rules for therapy were bring your truth, and give yourself grace. Those are the only two rules.
That's it, man. That's like the secret sauce of your show right there.
Yeah. Because
besides you.
Well, you know, I am the trillist. But that's what we have to have in all spaces and all situations we find ourselves in, because it reminds us and grounds us in our humanity. I think the ego so easily in corporate takes over. And that's a lot of the problems and a lot of the things we come up against. And that's why I wanted to like really start this show. And so when I decided to take it from DFWI radio into a podcast, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, right? Like, I'm just going to do a podcast. That's why I took the audio engineering class. But I came to quickly realize that the vision I had for the show in my head was not what was actually coming out on Apple Podcasts or, you know, Spotify. And I would listen to the audio. And I would be like, Oh God. And, and so like when I started out, Nikayla, and Nikayla's the reason why we met. So Nikayla Matthews Akome, the host of Side Hustle Pro, I actually, in order to learn how to turn this into a podcast, I took her masterclass, which is amazing. And if you can get in, get in there. If you want to do a podcast,
she's opening it back up. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So I'll put a link in the show notes for this episode. But she's the reason I really got started, and she's the reason I wanted to do better. But she would always say, done is better than perfect. But then I'd listen to my done, and I'm like, I don't like it. Like, if you listen to like the first remix episode you did, so there are some episodes that I'm trying to fill in the gaps when I moved last year, because I was really like, I want to produce an episode a week. And so in 2019, we did that, but we needed some remix episodes because I was like, I went to the Seychelles in South Africa. I moved to Atlanta. Like, I was all over the place. And during that time, I'm like, how do you get an episode in? And Chris was like, well, let's just remix. And so you'll hear one of the popular episodes is a Fuck Your Likability episode I did. Again,
such a good title.
Got it done, right? But then you remixed it. And even if you just listen to the beginning, where there is no sound design, it's just me talking, and I sound drunk, but I'm really not. I was just I was too much in my head when I was recording and trying to be perfect, knowing that I'm not a good editor. And then if you listen to the remix episode where you took that audio and you elevated it, and I'm like, dang, why can't I do that? But that's why, I pay you. So like, yeah.
We'll play that clip now.
Welcome to the Trill MBA show. I'm your host, the trillest MBA you will ever know, and I'm here to help you survive and thrive in corporate America by giving you the truth and being as real as only I can be. Today, this topic is near and dear to my heart because it causes all of my anxiety about corporate America. Today, we're going to talk about... Now, let's start this remix. Welcome to the Trill MBA show. I'm your host, the trillest MBA you will ever know, and I'm here to help you survive and thrive in corporate America by giving you the truth and being as real as only I can be. This topic is near and dear to my heart. Today, we're going to talk about the reason why you get promoted or the reason why you don't get promoted. It all comes down to one thing: likability. And yeah, so if you hear that great sound design in the second clip from the first clip, and it's like really amazing how you can take my voice and elevate it with your ideas, Chris. So I really appreciate it.
Thanks. Well, it's nice to have a good voice to work with, like a good content that is like inspiring to others and that I learn from.
You learn.
So it makes it easy to get creative, You
learn from the podcast, Chris?
Well, here's what I learned is that I needed Felicia like 6 years ago when I wasn't running my own business and I was working for someone else. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I always grew up thinking, fuck corporate,
Yeah.
Blah, blah. It's probably a privileged position to take. Like, I can do what I want.
I think everybody should feel that way.
But I found myself in a job, and at some point in the job, like here's one example. We were a mainly dudes office. I think we had a few women in there, and all the dudes are going to breakfast. One day a week, and I'm like, no, I'm not ever going to that breakfast. It's not even because I didn't like the guys. I just I did not want to play the game, but I also didn't advance anywhere, and I didn't have my head in that culture, and like,
You got to play the game.
And so when I listen to your show and you're like, you need to, whether you want to or not, you need to play the game. You need to be making these relationships. That's how you're going to advance. That's how you find out the nuances of your job. And like, it's at the water cooler or whatever. I think I heard that on your show. I don't know.
Yep.
You know, and all of that. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. I really
and it makes your life easier. That's the thing. Like, stop resisting. Right? Like, stop resisting the process. Just
stop resisting.
Embrace the bullshit. See it for what it is. And I think, and I've gotten that feedback before, right? Like, Felicia, I love your show because it's not like you don't try to make us drink the Kool-Aid of The Office, right? Like, you try to be real about like, okay, I see it and here's how I make that work for me. See, I'm going to be like Crystal on the read and be like, Kid Fury, you were supposed to turn your ringer off.
Yeah, right.
No, but like, ding. Right. That's the goal of the show. And what that really does, though, I think why that resonates with people, it allows you to feel seen. Mm-hmm. Right? So when we gaslight this thing and like try to make it seem like, oh, it's great corporate. Yes, it's great. Just do it. Like, but yet people are like stabbing you in the back and trying to make these perceptions that you're a bitch. And, like people are trying to undermine your work or steal your work. And then I'm sitting in all this shit, but I'm supposed to be like, yay, I love it. Like, no.
Oh,
no,
man.
That's not. So I want us to recognize, like, yes, all this shit goes on, but here's how you manage it. Here's how you make it work for you. Here's how to be happy despite all those things.
So you just took it in such a better direction than I was thinking, because I was thinking, here's how you beat the game. And you're like, here's how you be happy. But I think that's the
that's winning.
Where we need to be as a human is like, I just want to be peaceful. I don't need to beat anything. I don't even need to worry about losing anything. It's just like,
you don't.
So that's what I love about you, man. You just rocked it.
You don't. Okay. So what is your absolute favorite, like, technical thing about producing the show?
All right. I think so I'm going to start with our personalities because we mesh really well. So like when we first talked and I learned kind of what your style is, and it's kind of, it's humorous. It's big in like it's like a go big kind of mindset. So like when you make a point, you're totally cool with it. Just like cold, hard stop, put in a clip that, that makes that point in a kind of funny way or whatever. You're also down with like subtle stuff and whatever. But like, I like that because that's kind of how my brain works. And so I'll be listening and I'm like, oh, I know exactly what should go there. And sometimes you send me clips that are perfect. So like, I like that we click like that and I can totally see where you're going. And then like, I can do my own thing as well. So I enjoy that you like creative sound design too. So like I have fun sometimes when you're like talking about, there's that one time you were talking about people showing up to, I don't know, it's like recruitment fairs or something.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, you better come correct. And you were like talking about this dude who comes up to your table who's like, hey, can I have an internship? But then I took your voice and I pitched it down like 3 notes or something to where like your voice was the boy voice.
Yes, it was so good. I was like, I know that's me and that sounds scary, but I like it. I have to pass them along. And every time it would pain me because the dude that just walked up like, yo, sis, like I'm trying to get an internship.
Yo, sis, like I'm trying to get an internship.
No, I can't pass you along because you're not gonna make me look bad in front of my colleagues because you don't know the rules of engagement. That's what you're not gonna do. That's how it sounds when they come to your booth like that. Like,
and they're not, yeah, exactly.
Like,
oh my
gosh. Be prepared, people. I love that. And I love that you're creative in that way. And we're going to continue that. And we're just going to keep refining that and make it better. But
that's right. My favorite. I got to tell you my favorite.
Okay.
I just remembered. And I want to play you guys this clip.
Now listen, I got a little story for y'all. Picture it. 3:30 p.m. You just got back to your desk from your 2 o'clock meeting that ran over. You dock your Lenovo ThinkPad and wait for Windows 7 to warm up so you can get into your email. Because, slavery. So you check your notes from the meeting, trying to figure out if you can get away with not sending a recap email. Because why spend any time and effort on a recap email if nobody's gonna read it? So your computer finally boots up. You open Outlook.
Welcome. You've got mail.
And there are 126 new emails. You wonder why you spent lunch at your desk trying to get your unread emails to 0. You start scanning your inbox to see if there's anything super urgent that sticks out. Then you see the subject in all caps. Need by EOD today! Exclamation point. You feel your pulse quicken and your eyes squint and you cut them as you see this email is from Mike, your supply chain cross-functional, the one that gets on your last goddamn nerve. You hold your breath as you click to open it fully because it's so fucking long that you can't see it all from the preview pane. Then you start to read it. Felicia, per our conversation yesterday, you were sending me the data that shows each region where we are growing in product overstock. I need this by end of business day today to impact the forecast for Q3. Do you know how to pull this data? It should only take 10 minutes. Let me know if you can't get this to me by 5. Best, Mike. Now, Mike done CC'd your boss. On top of that, Mike don't check his goddamn email because guess what? You sent the data yesterday about 20 minutes after your long-ass meeting. Now, you got 2 choices. You could Michelle Obama this.
Our motto is, when they go low, we go high.
Or you could keep that same energy and reply like,
if I wanted to say that, I would have wrote it.
You implied that.
I said what I said.
Okay, well, what you said was some bull.
But
That's
you don't
what
like it. You don't like it.
I sure damn don't like it.
Well, then, what you want me to do? Okay, you don't like it.
yes, this is frustrating. But pause, take a deep breath, and now let's think through our best possible outcome when sending emails.
I think you called me and you were like, I want this to feel like a scene, like in a movie. And then I grabbed all of these samples from freesound.org. If any of you are sound designers, freesound.org is where you can get a lot of clips. And so there's a chair rolling, there's someone sitting, there's all the individual clips. You got chair rolling, chair sit down, typing. Mouse.
That was so good. That was the episode that this one woman I had coached for free, mind you. And I knew her, but she accused me of taking her story and making an episode. And
that was that?
Yes, because
I didn't realize it was that long.
It was about tone and email, right? The
That's
whole
right.
episode about tone and email. And so, like, she cussed me out and blocked me on social media.
Woo.
Because she legit thought that it was all about her. Now, mind you, yes, like, during that time, I was literally coaching 6 different people who had this issue about their emails, and they were getting different kinds of feedback, but all were like, your tone. So it was all this tone feedback and email, and they were all Black women. But like, the funniest thing was the real catalyst for that story was my friend Tiffany, who's been on the show. And she had something go down at a previous employer, and she told me about it. And so that story is really her story. So when this girl got mad at me, I had to call Tiffany and be like, yo, so, you know, the funny thing is she's mad at me because she thinks this is her, but actually this is really your story. So like, I don't want to make sure you cool with this, because I don't give a damn about her funky ass and her funky attitude. You're my friend, like, you're my BFF. Like, I don't want to piss you off, and I never thought anything of it. But that just goes to show you that we go through these things as so similar that this girl was like, to this day, she is 100% sure that I took her story and broadcasted on my podcast. And I was like, I don't even know how to prove to you, like, you don't believe me, because the stories, the themes and story is so similar, and it happens so often that there's probably a lot of my clients that think, oh, you talking about me. You did this because of me. And it's like, no, bitch, I would never just put like one person's story and it's an outlier and make that on my podcast. Like, how does that help anybody else? Like, if it's not a theme and it doesn't help everybody or a lot of people, then I'm not going to just have your one-off funky ass story, you dumb bitch. Like,
I just want to say, I want to like encourage any listener, anyone who's gotten feedback. Felicia's never going to waive your name or your social credentials in her show.
No.
And so if you get the feeling that something resonates, choose to believe that it's because other people are going through it and not because she's trying to wave your shit all over the internet, because she's not.
Yeah. Like, yeah. Thank you for,
you're welcome.
For putting the white man stamp on that. That was great. Your intentions are so great. I love it. I love it. So see, this is where intentions and impact don't always match.
Oh man.
You know how else that happens? How else that comes to life? So Harriet, I'm gonna talk about Harriet. She says she don't listen to the show. This will be the test, because now I'm talking about her. So Harriet, if for all those who
does she know you call her Harriet?
Yeah, I call her Harriet to her face now. I'm like,
oh, okay, so she knows.
You
okay,
the truth.
So she would recognize it.
She's like, why are you calling me Harriet? I'm like, 'cause you the truth. she be strong and right. You know, I can't stand people who are strong and wrong. But Harriet be strong and right, so you can't even be mad. It's like, well, she right. What you gonna say? Like,
yeah.
But I love Harriet. Harriet's from Oakland, so Harriet's like has a lot of blackness. She's just been exposed and embedded into her spirit, and she tells the blackest stories. But one thing I notice about Harriet, because Harriet she's very empathetic, and so what'll happen is, you'll be talking to her, you'll tell her something, and she'll be like, yeah, because one time when this blah blah and that happened to me, and like, and so she's telling that, and I can see where when people do that, people mistake that to be like, oh, you think this is always about you. And like, that's why you have to really truly understand somebody's heart and their intention. When she's telling you she's trying to tell you, I totally understand you because I've been through that, or I've seen that, or so that's her way of communicating that. But if you don't understand the person, or you don't give them the benefit of the doubt, or you don't try to see where they're coming from, that can come off as like, oh, she's such a know-it-all, or, oh, blah, 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 right? And so I had to, when I first met her, I was like, does she realize? And I realized, like, because of where her heart is and her intention, like, why would me saying that or doing that ever come across to you in a negative way? But that's the problem. I want people to understand, you know, for my audience, is that we can have the purest of heart, but you have to try to start thinking, you know, when you're being strategic in corporate, how is the other person going to take what I'm about to say? And yes, that takes a lot of mental energy, but it'll help you get further in your career because you're managing your perception in that way. This was a good teachable moment, Chris. Thank you for being a white man on the show. Speaking of being a white man, how do you feel? Because there's a lot of N-words.
You mean like when you say no, or nah, or nothing?
Sure, Chris. No, but seriously, we had this conversation though. Like, I warned you
before we ever started working together. You said I say the N-word a lot.
Right. You're gonna hear it. Are you okay with that?
But I was like, I'm gonna follow your lead on.
He's like, I'm not gonna say
that
it.
was what I was like. It's not my place to be like, I don't like that word. Yeah, I'm not saying it.
It would have been fair though, right? Like, I think it would have been fair for you to say, hey, I don't think I can do it. And I would have been like, oh, okay. Like, I'm gonna go find somebody that's fine with it. Cause understand, it's a bad word. Like, it's right up there with the F word, which is another one of my favorite words, right?
It's one of mine too.
Chris is like, yeah, you do. You say that one a lot too. But I wanted to be sensitive to the fact that, in all honesty, everybody should probably not say that word. But I'm a rebel. And so if you tell me not to say something, I'm going to say it a lot.
Well, this is something that's been interesting to me. So like between you and like when you have some friends of yours come on and do interviews, I've actually always wondered why, like, you feel maybe more free to say that word, but they definitely won't. They'll allude to it, like they'll get right to the edge, but they won't say it. Like, I understand that it's bad for me to say it. Like, I get that side, but I can't even pretend to understand your side of that conversation. So
within the diaspora, we don't agree on the usage of the word. So some people are in the camp of, we have taken our power back and co-opted the word and we'll use it how we see fit. I'm kind of in that camp. But then there are some people who are like, this represents the most vile evilness and, you know, you using this word. And it's funny because the N word and the F word are used very similar. It could be a noun, a verb, like it could be a lot of things, right? And so, but some people are like, the history is so vile that we should just not even go there. Similar, like, there are other words that are so funny to me. Like, again, none of these words mean much of anything to me to say. Like, I don't get offended by any of these words. So, like, the C word, I never really knew, like, in some places the C word is as bad as saying the N word. And I'm like, but it's just a small little 4-letter. Like, it's not, it doesn't even, it just rolls off the tongue. Like, it's, I don't know why that word totally does not offend me. The P word doesn't offend me at all. It's something my grandma said all the time. So, like, these words don't offend me. right? So, but that's my problem because in the world I live in, words hurt and words matter and words mean things. And I have to manage that. So the people that come on my show, they love me for my black ass self, right? And they accept me and they know what it is because I talk on the show how I talk to my friends, right? And we are black professionals, but understand we're like bougie and ratchet all at the same time. So all the people who have been on the show are a mix of bougie and ratchet. It's just that they are also managing their professional and personal brand as they come on the show, right? Because this is a business show. It's a career management show, right? It's
Right.
it's supposed to be professional. We're supposed to be professionals, Chris. But I don't want to be professional. Because to me, and so this is me being a rebel, right? I don't want to be professional because professionalism is rooted in white supremacy. So all the standards of professionalism are dictated by how white people show up. And I don't show up like a white person because I'm black and I have a different experience. And I think that should be embraced. And so this is why I come with the Trillist MBA. I actually had somebody tell me, Felicia, you shouldn't name your show the Trill MBA. That's a slang word.
Y'all should see Felicia's face.
You're not about to tell me what to do with my motherfucking show. Please and thank you. If you don't like it, don't listen. Oh, but you know what's fun? To read the comments on Apple Podcasts, to read the reviews and the written comments. And so I started noticing, just warning you, and like, this show is great, it's wonderful, this is all what I needed. The content is explicit. like warning other people. She gonna say bad words, y'all. Because to me, I have to say the bad words to really drive home how stupid the bullshit is. And also drive home how much you can get through it. Right? And that's what my intention is. I don't say bad words totally unintentionally. I mean, they do fall out my mouth like waterfalls naturally. But yeah, no, I appreciate you for rocking with me because some people would be like really offended by my potty mouth. And you know, I thought about it. I was like, should I have you pull together a whole montage of me saying nigga? And I'm like, that's not necessary. But Chris, what have you learned? Like, what is something you've learned about black people that you didn't know until you started working on this show?
Yeah, I knew this question was coming. Because I read the show notes.
Right.
I still don't have a good answer.
Or is it that you just, like, I never thought black people were any different? Like, y'all just people too, I guess. Maybe not say that. I said that. He didn't say that. This is how I imagine white people think. Let me flip it on. So, what have I learned about
my
white
favorite?
people?
No, I've got it for you. Yeah, no, I've got it for you. Yeah, it's good to know. I actually, to your point about this, how I think, I was working on this audio drama for ABF Creative. It's a multicultural podcast network, and until recently, I was the token white guy on the team, surrounded by black people. So
now you know how I feel at work.
Well, this is going to get to my answer about what I've learned about black people here in a second. But I wanted to interject with this about this is how I think white people think. So I was working on this fight scene for this drama that we never ended up putting out. And I had all these clips to work with. But I put it together and it's like, it's basically just long drawn out fight scene. I've got all these boxes flying around. I've got, they're cussing at each other. I've got them panned left and right, and then they come to center as they get closer. And I played it for this black dude, and he was like, it all sounds great, but the problem is that there would not be any real fight in real life that would sound like that. That sounds like what white people think we sound like when we fight. It's like, that's good feedback. And I was like, I think I know what you're talking about, but I want you to tell me. Because as I was working on it, I kept having this gut feeling that I ignored, that they are taking too long to get to center and like square up and like actually fight.
Right.
So it was just lots and lots of yelling. And he was like, no,
yeah,
man.
Black
They'd be
people
on
don't
each other like so fast.
Yeah. It happens
And I was
quick.
like, oh, okay.
If a fight's
But, like,
gonna
that
go
was-
down, it's like 0 to 100 real quick. Ain't gonna be a bunch of, like on
Yeah.
TV, when you see fight scenes on TV, it's a whole lot of talking. Just gen pop fight scene.
Right.
And
Right.
black people would just be like, just whoop his ass already. Like legit. Like it's cultural. Yeah.
Well, I fixed it, and it sounded a lot better. And I was
Good.
like, yeah, of course. Because when this dude comes in and he sees that his wife is cheating with someone else, he's not going to stand there and just yell at obscenities
No,
at the other guy.
that's not how that
That's
goes
not happening.
down. Yeah, that's not.
So that's what that reminded me of when you were like, that's how I imagine white people think. He's like, that's probably what white people think black people sound like. And so it's like this I think you think that I think that we think.
Yeah, that's a good lesson though.
That's all of that is helpful. So when I started Podshaper, that's my business name, for those of you who don't know, I intentionally put people of color on my website. I put black people, I put a lot of women, lots of different shades of hair. Like, it was on purpose because I was like, so I didn't have a lot of black friends or Hispanic friends or whatever. And it's just because it's where I was and there wasn't a lot of that. And I was like, well, this is a good opportunity for me to like work with people that aren't like me, which is really important. And the best way to do that is to put their faces on my website. So
Yeah,
they feel
that's true.
represented.
Right.
And so like Nikayla from Side Hustle Pro is one of my first clients. And I reached out to her cold email.
Oh, cool.
And like, she was like, I just have this gut feeling we should work together. Let's do it, but then from there I meet you, and now, I reached out to ABF Creative, that multicultural podcast network.
Mm-hmm.
That was a cold email. I reached out to Anthony. So like, I made a conscious decision to try and like reach past the white bubble.
Yeah.
And like, because I don't actually like the white bubble. I'm interested in not being in a white bubble. It's not interesting to me at all.
You want more flavor in your
so
life.
you asked me what I've learned from the show. I'd say one of the best things for me, it's not like I learned specific tips and tactics. It's that I feel like, the more we work together, the more we become friends. And that's important to me. I know that there's that business line that, but I mean, we write that nuance well. I don't think that's a problem. No. But, so, right now there's all the, Black Lives Matter and allies and stuff. And I know that some complaints about white people are they're trying so hard to be allies that it's really annoying, or they're just saying all kinds of bullshit. And y'all should see her face, right?
You said it. Listen. I didn't say it. You said it.
But I'm like, you don't have to try and be allies if you just make more black friends, and you'll understand how to just be. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. Obviously, I
mean, you can't be.
Like,
you are cultured. We're all not perfect, right? Like, we grew up in this system that we didn't create and that we were indoctrinated in. So, like, the mental energy and work it takes to say, I'm going to get myself as best I can out of white supremacy. That takes real effort, intentionality, work, heart. Like, it's not easy. And if it's uncomfortable. It's extremely uncomfortable. I, though, have no problems making any white person uncomfortable.
Well, that's good. That's a strength. I don't think you have a problem making anyone uncomfortable.
I
right?
don't. No, I've been made uncomfortable my whole life. I am a
oh man.
I am a fat black woman in America. I am always uncomfortable. I want to share my uncomfortable with the whole wide world.
I want you guys to partake. I don't want to be holding this all to myself.
Right. Why do I have to
share the discomfort?
Right. I'm uncomfortable. You gonna be uncomfortable. We gonna be uncomfortable together. Goddamn it. Like,
and then together is better.
Right.
No, but it's not. God. It's. I would say, okay, I'm gonna be vulnerable here.
Don't make me cry. Damn it.
Well, okay. I'm gonna try to be honest though. Like, so. Okay, so I was listening to this woman talk about womanism,
womanism,
which I'm just learning about.
I'm a woman. I have a vagina. I do. I checked it. I checked it this morning, and I've never heard this term womanism.
It started with Black women, I'm pretty sure.
Everything starts with Black women.
I'm not going to say too much about it because this is out of my lane and I'm just now learning about it.
Okay.
But you can look up womanism.
Share what you've learned,
but
Chris.
Basically, the idea that she proposed was that we each have cultural things passed down to us, not just from our parents, but our grandparents or great-grandparents. And so, like, white supremacy, specifically, even for people who are trying not to be in that mindset, there is like generation after generation after generation of thought that's just subconscious that you kind of constantly have to work out, I guess, and just realize that and don't lie to yourself about it. But I would say and this is where I'm embarrassed to say this, but I'll go ahead. I've noticed that the more I work and the more I'm friends with and just am constantly around Black people, like the less the kind of
unconscious bias. Yes, it's unconscious bias.
Yeah, thank you. And that is like that's being killed in me, and I'm just so happy like about it. And,
right, because
and that's good.
It's a learned thing that you picked up from
my
society.
Parents didn't even do it. It's like it's societal. It could even be subconscious.
I mean, it's the media
bias from centuries ago.
Yeah, it's everything around us is all the things we consume. But then think about it like this. So it's subtle things that if you're not intentional about calling out. So like if you go to a store and you look and you're looking for dolls, just dolls to buy. All the dolls look white. But what that signals is that this must be good. And then what happens is this mental thought process that's very unconscious of, the opposite is bad. Right? And so it's just these little
Black people
signals.
grow up in that, right?
Yeah. And so you get these little signals. And so now they've done these experiments where they'll ask a Black child. They'll ask all different races of children, and they'll have a Black doll and a white doll, and they'll say, which doll is pretty? And they'll point to the white doll. Which doll is bad? They'll point to the Black doll. And like every child. So it's like, it's so ingrained in our society in these very nasty, insidious, subtle ways that, I mean, you got 5-6-year-olds saying they don't want Black dolls are bad, and they're Black themselves. So now what do you think of yourself if you're a Black child and you've been taught some way that Black dolls are bad and that doll looks like you? And we don't, that's what I'm saying, like, and all this carries itself into corporate. Because if you let this society, like if you're an alien and you come down to Earth and you do an analysis of the society, you'd be like, oh, white people are human and Black people are not human. Like that's the messaging. And it's said in so many different ways, verbally, non-verbally, visually. Right? And so you've been put in a position where my humanity is undeniable. And so now you realize, and it's like a light bulb goes off like, oh. And it's like you're seeing people for humans.
Well, it's like my subconscious is doing it. So like my conscious mind was like, I know she's a fucking human. And that's why I'm reaching out. But then my subconscious is like, Oh, I can't even I can't even so easily go to the negative anymore.
Right.
Thought processes, which is
Right.
man,
Which you didn't even
so
know
happy.
you had, right? Like,
which I didn't know I had.
right. Right.
That's like the first time I realized that I had male privilege. And we're not even talking about white male privilege. The first time I realized I had male privilege was like 2 or 3 years into my marriage. And it was in a church setting, and my wife Becca was just like so angry and wanting to leave, and I was so uncomfortable because I've been like in church my whole life. And I'm like, why? And like she started seeing, like way before me, of course, that this is a patriarchal power system. And they say they love Jesus and stuff, but they also say that I'm not allowed to like say scripture from the front, which is what the hell, and like, and
that's why I
and-
forget you
and
from Texas.
that's like-
I forget.
You recognize that, don't you?
Yes.
You recognize that. That's a southern thing.
That's a southern thing.
But like that was like so much discomfort realizing just my male privilege, and now we get into white male privilege, and I'm just like, oh gosh, there's so much that needs to be like broken down. But love has the power. Ooh, I'm gonna get all like philosophical. Love has the power to change it without destroying anything, which is kind of cool.
No, and so I want to ask you this question, Chris, because you're my resident white man. So do you feel like as you're learning all these things and your perspective is changing and evolving, do you feel like you're losing anything? Do you feel like anything's being taken away from you?
No, I'm gaining.
See,
I'm just totally gaining.
This is what I want white men to understand. So there are some white men that listen to the show. I don't know if I tell you the emails I get from hey, what's up? About 10 white men that listen. Oh,
there's 10? I thought it was like 1 and me.
No, there's the number.
This needs to be curriculum for every white man. Every white man needs to listen to your show, as part of their life curriculum. That's what
I dig that. No, but I get these emails, and it always starts out with, "Hey, Felicia, I know I'm not your target audience. I'm a white man, but you helped me so much."
I love it.
And I'm like, those
are my boys right there.
I mean, but it's so dope because the point of this show is helping people manage their career. Now, I may target it to Black women, but 98% of the tactics that I say, everybody, even the fix your face stuff, there are some white men that make faces in the meetings and people read that and they make a perception of it. It may not be as harsh of a perception as a Black woman, but like still you're communicating and you need to be aware of what you're communicating with your face, right? Like that's fair game for everybody.
That's right. So
I may address the nuances for Black women specifically, but these tactics, building relationships, reading Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I mean, if you're a white man, you should be all in that book. It was written for you. Like, let's be clear. It was written in the 30s by a white man for other white men. Dale Carnegie is probably rolling over in his grave knowing that I am exploiting his book for my gain. I understand. And I am here for it.
Make that man roll.
Exactly.
He's probably getting uncomfortable in that other position anyway.
Exactly.
He needed to roll.
We're talking about dead white men, guys. This is great. Real quick, before we go, what do you want the listeners to know about what we have coming up for season 5?
Oh, I think that I'm supposed to ask you that.
I know. I flipped it because I was like, I just wanted to know what you were thinking because I don't think we really.
This is my opportunity.
Okay.
To put my white stamp of approval on your show.
Yes, come through the white stamp of approval.
White man stamp. Oh my gosh, that was so embarrassing when that happened.
Live in the uncomfortable, Chris. It's fine.
That's right. Oh, I'm all for it. Anyway, people, we need Felicia to get out of corporate and get into this space full time.
Oh.
She coached my wife not too long ago about how to ask for more money because my wife just got a job. My wife, Becca. I'll just call her Becca now. Felicia coached her and how to ask for more money in the offer. They talked for a while and Becca did ask. And she went in, with enough knowledge and confidence to do it, and then was told that, hey, that's the most we can do. But what was great to see was that Becca felt really good that she had asked early on and that she stood up for herself early on. And that's something that Felicia helped her do. And she wanted to and didn't know how. And so that was really cool. But I think that Felicia could do that for everyone and in corporate spaces. So Felicia did not ask me to say this, but if we could start ramping up some giving to her Patreon bucket.
I don't even have a Patreon.
Her so she can quit. We need to fund her so she can quit. That's all I'm saying. So you guys email her, let her know what you're going to do. She has 2,000 listeners or something. So if each of you gives $50, that's enough to supplement her income and help her go full time. And if she's uncomfortable with me saying that, then we can cut it out. Back to you.
How am I going to be the trillist and tell you to cut that? First of all, I appreciate that. I do want to do this full time. I'm working on some things.
She's good at it, man.
Come March 31st, I might be doing this full time. Because if I don't land another gig at Coke, because of the reorg.
But what she didn't say Coke, she actually said Igor.
Well, no, so since they announced layoffs,
you can talk
I had to update my LinkedIn.
Oh, okay.
So I know the protocol was let's not talk about. I wanted, because I do use bad words. I wanted to kind of separate, but now, no, I work for the Coca-Cola company. I am not, but this show has nothing to do with Coke. So disclaimer.
Obviously.
Right? Right. I'm a senior brand manager.
The only thing this show has to do is when you compliment your boss, Harriet. That's
she deserves it.
That's as close as this comes to your work.
She deserves it. She's a G. But
guys, let's not go beyond the fact that we want to support Felicia to do this full time.
I really appreciate that. No, I did not pay you to do that. I will say thank you for that. Yes, guys, I guess I will have to set up a Patreon now. So hopefully I can get that done before the show airs. And then, but no, I think I need to just go to the audience and ask for help, because if we don't start getting some funding, I am not going to be able to sustain, producing the show. I do pay Chris. He has a whole ass family, as he's mentioned, that he needs to support. So he cannot do this show for free, even though he would. He cannot, which is understandable. And then I do have a small team of contractors. So they keep the show going. But as you've noticed, the first to go was my social media. So right now it's sparse because I now have to run it. So I'm looking for, some help there, and I'm looking for help, but then also that, comes with a cost. I don't want people working for free. So trying to work it out. But yeah, if you do want to support the show, if this show has helped you, I will be, I guess now putting up a Patreon, because Chris just said. So look forward to that.
We're going to put up a Patreon. Yeah.
I don't know what bonus content you're going to get on the Patreon. I barely make the content that's free.
They can see this video.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we could do that. So if you want to see my facial expressions and my black ass face, and
me embarrassed.
We'll put this video up because we are recording on Zoom.
That's right. That could be step number one.
Yeah. So step one, yay! But I will say, before we get out of here, because, I don't like to have these shows too long. I'm excited for season 5. I know it's been an unprecedented year. Everybody take their shot, right? I said unprecedented, but it's been a crazy year. We're still alive. If you're listening to this, may God bless you abundantly. In 2021, season 5 will start end of January, beginning of February. We're still working out some timing. We're going to be focused on getting you promoted and all things getting you promoted. That's what season 5 is going to be about. So I'm going to have some guest experts on. We're going to have some of you did take me up on my offer to come on the show for free coaching. So we're going to have those episodes. Yeah. Get excited, Chris. I love when you get excited because it's very professional excited. It's great.
It's like,
yeah. It's yay.
White man overbite.
It's like Michelle. It's like when Michelle Obama was in office. You could tell she wanted to be extra with it, but she had to contain it. That's right. Exactly. Yeah. Let it out, Chris. Let it out. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Getting promoted.
Yeah. So it's
no
all about.
No one feels comfortable doing. Well, maybe someone does, but she's
nobody
gonna help.
Does. Yeah, nobody does because you have to.
Because the power dynamic makes it uncomfortable. The power dynamic makes it uncomfortable. So you're helping them navigate that power dynamic.
Exactly. See, you have learned so much from this show. I should charge you. No, I'm playing. But we're going to get out of here. Chris, thanks so much for doing this crazy idea with me to have this behind the scenes episode. I mean, why not have a crazy ass episode to close out the crazy ass year?
The crazy ass year.
And we'll see you back in the new year. So listen, you guys. If you need any help or advice about a specific situation, go to trilliumva.com. My coaching is closed for the year. We're on break. It'll start back up in February. You can go to trilliumva.com/coaching. You'll be able to schedule time with me. That is for a fee because I have to pay Chris. Now you know where your money goes. Yeah. But if you need anything in the meantime, email me at ask@trilliumva.com and I'll get back to you. If you don't hear from me within 2 or 3 days, email me again. Bring it back up to the top of my email box. I get all kinds of crazy emails of all kinds of things, and so sometimes I miss stuff. So don't be afraid. Always email people again. Don't be satisfied with, I emailed them one time and they didn't email me back. They might not even seen your shit. So don't be that person. Squeaky wheels get the oil. So yeah, you guys, happy new year, happy holidays. And, don't drink too much. Don't smoke too much. Everything in moderation. Just stay sane. We're going to make it through. Chris, thank you for this.
Thank you.
This was amazing. I love you guys. And we'll see you next year.
Bye.
The Trill MBA Show is a Fair World Corp. LLC production. Executive produced by Felicia and Rose Inuha. Sound design and editing by Chris Mann with Podshaper. Theme music is Kick Push by Ryan Little. Keep it trill every day, y'all.